my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica, and in today's video I am bringing you another episode of Makeup and Artists. I am a huge music lover, and I just thought it would be fun to bring my love for music onto my channel, creating an eye look while I chat with you guys about a particular musical artist or musical group. And for this episode, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite rappers of all time, Coolio. I discovered Coolio, I believe, when I was in college, and I just fell in love with his sound, with his look. I saw him in concert, and I still listen to Coolio music quite often. And I thought, what palette should I use for this video? And it instantly clicked in my head what I had to use. And I'm going to be using the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Longing palette because this is an absolutely gorgeous, cool toned eyeshadow palette. And I felt it was appropriate, if I'm going to talk about Coolio in a video, that I use a cool toned eyeshadow palette. I did do a 2 looks video with this palette already, and I want to use shades that I didn't use. Well, I might use a repeat shade, I don't know, but trying to focus on shades I haven't used yet. And I don't really remember exactly what shades I used. I think actually the first look I used shades over here, and then the second look I used shades in here. So I think I'm going to be focusing more on these shades over here. I think what I'll do is put Bittersweet in my transition area. I'll blend it out with, what does that say? Somber or Star-Crossed, one of those. And then I definitely want to use Unrequited. I might even use a little bit of Long Ago. And then for the shimmers, I'm going to be using this one here called Remorse, and this one here called All That's Left. I thought that would look really pretty. So I do need to go prime my eyelids. I do have both my brows done. I'm going to do both eyes on camera. So hang tight. I'm going to go prime my lids and I'll come right back. Alrighty, so now both of my eyes are primed, and I'm going to go into Bittersweet first and put that in my transition area. So Coolio was born Artis Leon Ivy Jr. on August 1st, 1963. And he was born in, what is it? Monessen? I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce that, Pennsylvania. And his mom worked in a factory in Monessen, Pennsylvania, and his dad was a carpenter. And when he was around 8 years old, his parents divorced, and his mom moved back to where she was from in Compton, California. And when he was a kid, he loved going to the library. Like, that was his special place to go, was to the library. And he really enjoyed playing board games with his mom. Him and his mom are real close when he was growing up. Now, when he was, I believe, in high school was when he first started rapping. And he had such a smooth sound that people would jokingly call him Coolio Iglesias after the singer Julio Iglesias, because Julio has a very smooth, sultry, sexy voice. And when people would hear Coolio rapping, that's who they would think of. So they called him Coolio Iglesias. And of course, that got shortened down to Coolio. Now, he did get into a little bit of trouble when he was in high school. He was arrested for bringing a weapon to school and also for some petty theft. And actually, he did serve some prison time, I believe in his early 20s. And unfortunately, by the late 1980s, he developed a pretty significant drug addiction and ended up moving away from Compton, California, and moving to San Jose to live with his father. And that's when he really got his life together. At that point was when he was living with his dad in San Jose. He got really involved in church, and he just really credited his faith in God getting him out of his addiction. And in San Jose, he worked for the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. And he did that for quite some time, actually. And then eventually he moved back to Compton, California, and went to community college. He worked as a volunteer firefighter and also as a security guard at the LA airport. And that was when he started rapping full time as a career. He was really starting to get noticed. He was having he had some pretty deep roots in the Los Angeles rap community. And people just really liked his sound and his look. You know, he had a very unique look. He had the braids and, just kind of, I don't know. I remember him being kind of like a funny guy too, in interviews and stuff and in his videos. But he just had a really unique look and a really unique sound. So now what I'm going to do, I'm pretty much done with that shade, is I'm going to go into, I think I'll go into this shade here called Star-Crossed and just kind of lighten up the outer edge of the Bittersweet shade. This is kind of a cool, like almost olivey green, kind of smoky olivey green shade. His first single was called What You Gonna Do, and that was recorded in 1987. And then he also recorded another song, What Makes You Dance Force Groove, with New School in 1988. And then in 1991, he joined the rap group WC and the Mad Circle, which I am not familiar with that rap group at all. But that's when he really started to become popular, because people were hearing him with this group and they were like, ooh, he sounds really good, and he's got a good flow and a good rhythm, and you know, this really smooth, sultry sound to his voice. And, you know, he was just really getting, like I said, deep into the LA rap scene for sure. In 1994, he signed a recording contract with Tommy Boy Records, and he released his first album called It Takes a Thief. And off that album came the song Fantastic Voyage. And I will never forget when I heard that song for the first time. I was actually in college, and we were in like the student union. It's called, like the, I don't know, people could hang out in there, and they had like a little restaurant, and, you know, you could study and stuff like that. And quite commonly they would play the radio station that would usually have like pretty new R&B, rap, hip hop, dance music, that kind of thing. And I was sitting there studying. I think I was drinking a milkshake, studying, and Fantastic Voyage came on the radio. And I was like, wait, whoa, who is this? I didn't know who Coolio even was at that point. And I was like, oh, I love this. So I remember I walked up to my friend who was working behind the counter at the, you know, place where you could buy food and stuff. And I said, do you know who this is on the radio? And he said, yeah, it's a rapper by the name of Coolio. And I was like, okay, well, I got to go get, is there a tape that's been released? What's going on here? And he's like, I don't know, but, you know, look into it. So I did. I went to, well, the town that I went to college in was like itty bitty teeny tiny. So I drove my car into the closest town to me that had like a life there. And I went to the record store and I asked the person behind the counter, I said, I heard this song, it's called Fantastic Voyage. And she's like, oh yeah, it's Coolio. We have the tape right over here. And I'm like, you do? So I went and got the tape, and I also got the CD. And I just could not stop listening to that whole CD. It was so freaking good. And I just loved his sound and his like lyrical ability, his timing, you know, just this real good, sensual, deep, smooth flow to his voice. And I still love listening to his music. I do. I always will. Now, Fantastic Voyage was the lead single off of It Takes a Thief, and it received heavy rotation on MTV and peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of the biggest rap singles of all time, which I'm not surprised at all, because everyone I knew, everyone in college and like my friends from high school that I was still in touch with, everybody was listening to Coolio. Everybody. Like, we just all were like huge Coolio fans. And around that time, I think it was 1990, I want to say it was 1994. I'm pretty sure it was, maybe 1995. My roommate and her really close friend that she'd gone to high school with got tickets to see Coolio, Warren G, Heavy D and the Boys, and R. Kelly, which I was never an R. Kelly fan at all, but I had to see Coolio. And so when we got to it was at the Portland Rose Garden, I think it's called something else now, but something similar to that. As soon as we walked in, I'm like, okay, I got to find a vendor that's selling Coolio posters or t-shirts or something. And I had been in there for maybe 5 seconds, and I found a vendor that was selling Coolio t-shirts, and I went and bought it, and I threw it on over my other t-shirt that I had on, and I wore that shirt for the rest. I think I was a sophomore in college at that point, maybe a junior. I wore that t-shirt constantly until I graduated, and I had it for quite some time. I think I had it actually until my kids were born. And then the damn thing just fell apart because I'd washed it so many times and I'd worn it so many times. I love these two shades together. They're beautiful. A couple other really popular songs from that album was County Line and I Remember. I Remember is one of my favorite songs of his. I mean, the whole album was really good. But it peaked at number 8, the album did, on the Billboard 200 and became certified platinum. And the album received praise for being more humorous and lighthearted in comparison to other rap music that was out at that time. And like I said, I mean, that was kind of his thing. You know, he was funny and lighthearted and uplifting, you know, his music and just his whole vibe, you know, like in his videos and like his interviews and things like that. He was just a really fun person. He was awesome. So now I'm going to go into Unrequited and put that in my outer V and into my crease. Then in 1995, he released the song Gangsta's Paradise. That was part of the Dangerous Minds movie soundtrack. So I'm thinking I did see him in concert in 94 because he did not perform Gangsta's Paradise. And that song just blew up. And I remember going to see that movie. And of course, it's such a great movie. I own that movie actually on DVD. But that song was played everywhere on pretty much every radio station and everywhere when I was in college. I mean, every party we went to, Gangsta's Paradise was played, I don't know, probably 10 times at least. It was played at sporting events. It was played everywhere. I mean, you could not get away from that song. I know every single word to that song and I just loved it. I've seen that video probably, oh gosh, I don't even know if I can count that high. So many times I've watched that video. I just absolutely love that song. I raised my kids to love that song, you know, and the movie was so good. I saw the movie, I think 4 times in the theater. Really liked the movie Dangerous Minds. It's really good. And that was the song that really like launched his musical career. I mean, you know, It Takes a Thief did really well, but Gangsta's Paradise, that was like his trademark song that just really launched him into the music stratosphere. Let me give you some facts about this song. So it became one of the most successful rap songs of all time, as did Fantastic Voyage, and topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 weeks. It was the #1 single in the US for all genres. It was a global hit, topping the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Sweden, Austria, Netherlands, Norway, Switzerland, Australia, and New Zealand charts. Also, Weird Al Yankovic did like a spoof of that song called Amish Paradise. And honestly, Coolio was not okay with that. He did not give Weird Al permission to make a parody out of that song. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that like Weird Al. That really pissed me off because that song, Gangsta's Paradise, is not a joke. It's a very serious song. And it's describing the way of life for a lot of young Black men. And I didn't think it was funny at all. It pissed me off. I was like, let's not, okay? So yeah, Coolio wasn't real thrilled with that whole concept of Weird Al making a parody out of Gangsta's Paradise. Now, initially, that song was just going to be on the Dangerous Minds soundtrack. But because it was so popular, he decided to go ahead and release another album titled Gangsta's Paradise. And that album also had the song 1, 2, 3, 4, Something New, and Too Hot. And Too Hot was sampling the song Too Hot by Kool and the Gang. And those two songs I absolutely loved as well. And I mean, those were played. I'm using the shade Bittersweet again to kind of go around and blend out Unrequited. Sorry, I didn't forget to mention that. Those two songs also were played at every single college party I went to. And the thing that was so great about his songs too, is that you could dance to them, you know, like you could really dance, and it was so fun. And I always really wanted to see him again in concert. I never did see him again, but I really wanted to see him again because, you know, I just loved him so much. He was so fun. He did such a good job in that concert. I know we kind of passed the concert part. But he did such a good job. He sounded almost better live than he did on the radio. And these mats are blending like an absolute freaking dream. They're such great mats. They just blend like you wouldn't believe. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the shimmers. And I think what I'll do is start off with using Remorse here, like in the outer part of the lid, or like middle, whatever. Put all that's left towards the front. Real professional over here, real professional. Now in 1996, he released the song It's All the Way Live, and that was in the movie Eddie soundtrack, the one where Whoopi Goldberg is the basketball coach. And that song, at that point I was working at Blockbuster Video, and that song was constantly played in Blockbuster. Like, you know, they have the movie trailers, and then they'll have like a music video. And the Coolio video to It's All the Way Live was played, I don't know how many times when I was working there. And I loved it because I loved him so much, and I loved it. I'm like, play it all day, play it all night. I'm good. I love that song. Another great rap song that you could dance to. It was so fun. At that point, he was also featured in the song Hit 'Em High, along with Be Real, Method Man, LL Cool J, and Busta Rhymes for the soundtrack to the movie Space Jam. And I've watched the movie Space Jam 9,000 times. Love the music to that. Actually, I did have the Space Jam soundtrack for a while. I don't know what the heck happened to that. One of my kids probably has it now, because I used to have it in a CD case that I think my daughter still has. But, you know, just hit after hit. And, you know, again, we have this awesome, smooth sounding, you know, very, you know, kind of sensual, smooth sounding rap artist. And I just, you know, and fun too, fun and kind of zany and just, you know, really entertaining, very different from what was, you know, kind of the more popular, you know, that we had like this, the real gangsta rap, and that kind of West Coast, East Coast type back and forth battle going on. And then we have Coolio, who just has this like fun dance music that's kind of lighthearted and, you know, also serious, obviously, with Gangsta's Paradise. I mean, that was not a lighthearted song. So I don't mean to sound like an ignorant moron and say that that was lighthearted, because it wasn't. But a lot of his other stuff was just, I don't know, just really fun to listen to and really fun to dance to. And they were like party songs. They were awesome. So now I'm going to go into All That's Left and put that towards the front. In 1996, he appeared on the Red Hot Organization's compilation CD, America is Dying Slowly, along with Biz Markie, Wu-Tang Clan, and Fat Joe, among other prominent hip-hop artists. And that was made to raise awareness of the AIDS epidemic among Black men. I mean, that was huge, still is huge. But that was like, you know, when people were really starting to take notice of that, and that whole CD, I believe some of the profits went to organizations that were helping treat Black men with AIDS. That same year in 1996, he also recorded the title song, or the theme song, to the Kenan and Kel show that was on Nickelodeon. I remember that too. That was called Ah, Here It Goes. And that ran for 4 seasons. I love that show. In 1997, his third album, My Soul, came out with the major hit See You When You Get There. And that's another pretty serious kind of slowed down rap song. Love that too. Now that album did not have as much success as his first two. You know, I don't know. I mean, it would be hard. I feel like it would be really hard to match the success of Gangsta's Paradise, of course. And then also his first album, you know. I mean, those were just his staple, iconic songs from both albums. And so, you know, it just, I remember thinking that album wasn't as good as his first two either, but I still really liked the album. Oh, and the Dangerous Mind soundtrack is really good. Not just Gangsta's Paradise, the whole soundtrack is really good. But of course, Gangsta's Paradise is my favorite song, and the whole soundtrack, of course it is. And I love this, but I do feel like those two shades together are looking a little funky. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to this shade here, and this is called If Only, and just pop a little bit of that right between those two. I think that'll look really pretty. And actually, due to lack of success of that third album, Tommy Boy Records dropped his contract, which I think is bullshit, quite honestly, because, you know, there's a lot of recording artists that have an album that doesn't do that great, and they don't drop them off of their label. But yeah, whatever. I mean, I could say a lot about that right now. I could. Oh, yes, I could. Let's see. He did release a few more albums. In 2001, he released Coolio.com, which I don't remember that one. In 2003, he released El Cool Magnifico, which I do remember that. In 2006, The Return of the Gangsta. 2008, Still Here. 2009, From the Bottom to the Top. And then 2017, Long Live the Thief. And, you know, none of those songs from any of those albums charted the Billboard charts or landed on the Billboard charts. But I still remember a lot of his, you know, that music during that time was still really good, you know? I think he just, like I mentioned, he just had so much success with Gangsta's Paradise that, you know, it's just hard for him to recreate that again, you know? Which I understand that because it was such an iconic song. You know, how do you match that? So freaking good. I really like, I'm glad I put that green in there. That looks really pretty. Although I do want to go into Remorse, the kind of goldish. Isn't that pretty? It's going to add a little bit of that back. And I've got something on my knuckle. I don't know what that is. I think it's pen from my work, so I apologize. A little bit of pen on my finger. He also had a lot of television appearances. In 1996, he made a guest appearance on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. In 2004, he was on a German talent show that featured artists looking for a comeback. I didn't realize that. In 2008, he hosted an online cooking show called Cooking with Coolio. I didn't know that. A lot of these I didn't realize. In 2009, I did know this, he was a housemate on Celebrity Big Brother 6, and he placed third, so that was really cool. In 2010, he appeared on the UK's Ultimate Big Brother. In 2012, he was one of 8 celebrities that participated in the Food Network reality TV series, Rachel versus Guy Celebrity Cook-Off. He was a really good cook, really good cook. And in 2013, he was on an episode of Wife Swap with his then girlfriend, but I guess they broke up shortly after the show aired. And then in 2016, he performed on ABC's Greatest Hits. So, yeah. He was married in 1996, I believe. Yeah, in 1996, but they got divorced in 2000. They did have one child together, and then he actually fathered 9 other children, and he also had 5 grandbabies. Could you imagine having Coolio be your grandpa? That would be the coolest thing ever. Or your dad. I mean, that would be so awesome. Who's your dad? Coolio? That'd be the best. Okay, I'm going to go back into unrequited and just kind of add a little bit of that back out here. And of course, this is getting all crazy blown up here, but you know, it's going to do that anyway because my eyes are so hooded. And actually, I didn't realize this. In 2020, he attempted to join into the Democratic presidential race, and he ran with an adult film star actress named Sherry DeVille, but apparently their campaign lost traction, lost some money. People weren't really digging that whole vibe, and so he decided to drop out of the race, which I would have voted for him. Okay, I would have voted for Coolio, absolutely. Now he passed away sadly on September 28th of 2022, I believe. Yeah, he was found unresponsive in the bathroom of one of his really good friends' houses, and he basically had an accidental overdose of drugs. There were several drugs found in his system. Also, he was a pretty heavy smoker and had some like chronic heart stuff going on and some pretty severe asthma, so that didn't help things. But I was absolutely devastated when I found out he'd passed away. I will never forget when I found that out. I was just heartbroken because I've always just really admired and respected him and loved his music. I mean, his songs were like the soundtrack of my college years, like especially towards the end of college and like into my life right after college too. And like I said, you know, I really raised my kids to love his music, know his music, and he will always have a very, very, very special place in my heart. He is one of my absolute favorite rap artists of all time. I just really thought he was a badass. And his sound was so good. Like, if you guys have never listened to Coolio, of course, I will link a ton of his music in the description box. Go listen to him because he's really good. Really good. And, you know, just fun songs. A lot of them are very uplifting. Like I said, you could dance to them. You know, like I can remember going to a ton of dance clubs when I was in college. And, oh, maybe not a ton, but a good handful. And quite commonly, there were at least 3 or 4, if not more, Coolio songs played. And we would just get down. Get down. Okay, I am pretty much done with this look. I think this turned out amazing. I love it. It's beautiful. So I'm going to go clean up a few things, do the rest of my face. I'll come back. So this, of course, is my finished look, and I love how it turned out. I think I put together a pretty damn cool look for Coolio. I really hope that he would like this look in honor of him. I meant to mention before I went off to put the rest of my face on that he was 59 years old when he passed away. He was cremated, and his family had a very private ceremony, just family members and good friends. Some of his ashes were put into pieces of jewelry for members of his family, and then the rest of his ashes were put into an urn. So let me show you all the things I have on my face for this finished look. For my base product, I went with a powder foundation. This is the Maybelline New York Superstay Full Coverage, up to 16-hour coverage in 220. I have actually panned this, and I really enjoy using this. Really love it. It's a really nice, pretty full coverage powder foundation, and it lasts really well throughout the day on my face. For my bronzer, I use the Iconic London. I was going to use my cream bronzer, but with a powdered foundation that doesn't always work that well. And this is the Ultimate Bronzing Powder in medium. Love it. It's filthy on the front, but I love it. For my highlighter, I use the Josh Cosmetics highlighter in Luna, in the shade Luna. I'm just loving this. This is in my panning project, my Def Leppard Let's Get Panned panning project. I've used it like, I don't know, 5-6 times now. Yes. For my blush, I use the Mad Witch Cosmetics Scorpio Hot palette. I use this light pink shade down here. I thought about using this shade here, and I kind of wish I had, but I just hadn't really used this much, so I wanted to give it a try, and I love this blush palette. I love it. It's so amazing. It's my favorite blush palette in my collection. For my upper lid liner, I use the Wet n Wild Breakup Proof, Waterproof Liquid Liner, Felt Tip Liner, whatever, in black. I could have done something more exciting with my liner, but I don't know. I just felt like sticking with that. And then for my mascara, I use the Gifted from Tarte. I love this. And I think that's everything I have on. Yes. Okay, so now let's talk about the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Longing Palette. I just felt like this was the perfect cool toned eyeshadow palette to pull in for a video about my favorite rapper, or at least one of my top 3 favorite rappers, Coolio. Cool toned, it's beautiful. The mattes just blend themselves. So easy to blend the mattes, and they're so pigmented. They work like a dream. I did put a combination of, let's see, Unrequited and Star-Crossed on my lower lash lines. And then I did put this in my inner corners, all that's left. I was gonna maybe do something different, but I don't know. I just thought that would be perfect, and I love how it looks. The shimmers in this palette are so dynamic and gorgeous, and again, they work so well together. You know, taking this shade and kind of popping it between these two worked so well. I think it really like helped these two shades come together better, you know, a little more seamless across the lids, I guess. And I'm just thrilled that I picked this up. I'm such a huge cool toned eyeshadow fan, and this is just such a stellar cool tone palette. I think that's still available. If it is and you're into cool tones, highly recommend picking that up. This was so fun to talk about one of my favorite rappers, Coolio. I just love his music. I will always love his music. You know, I know all the words to the majority of his songs, and I just love when they come on the radio. I have some CDs of his. I actually have a couple mixed CDs with some of his songs on it, and anytime one of his songs come on, I just crank the volume up full blast and just thoroughly enjoy myself. You know, like I mentioned, I raised my kids to love Coolio. My husband really likes Coolio. And so, yeah, it was really fun to talk about him and just share with you guys some of my memories of him. And I just really hope that his legacy lives on, that his music lives on, and people all over the world will continue to love his music just like I do. And I mentioned before, but I'll say it again, I'm going to link a bunch of his songs in the description box. If you're not familiar with Coolio, or you want to listen to his music again, maybe you're super familiar with him, go check out those videos and listen to his music. Let's celebrate Coolio. Come on, you guys, let's celebrate Coolio. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. I'd love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I cannot wait to see you guys again in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself. Be well, safe, happy, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Drop it.